Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I wanted to do a quick video regarding the 120 frames per second on the Canon EOS M50. I did a previous video with small test footage regarding the 120 frames per second, which I felt didn't really showcase how good of quality the 720p actually is, and really good lighting as well as a very high quality lens. So while I was out this weekend celebrating Easter with my family, I was able to get a couple shots with the 10 to 18 millimeter, but at the same time, after watching the Peter McKinnon B-roll video, I was actually curious and I found one lens in my arsenal that is actually pretty similar to the one that he uses, which is the 85mm L lens with the 1.4 aperture. This lens is probably the most common lens that everybody and anybody should ever have. In my opinion, you should have at least one of these as a backup at all times, no matter what. And this is the Canon EOS Nifty 50. This is the 50mm 1.8 lens. It's called the Nifty 50 because you can use this thing for so many applications. You can use this for cinematic video. You can also use it for photography to get that really cool blurry bokeh effect or bokeh effect, however you pronounce it. You can use it for photography as well as video. I've actually never used any lenses for my 120 frames per second videos in the past because I've never really had a camera that could do so. The only 120 frames per second I could shoot was from my iPhone. And finally, at this point, I actually have a camera that can use a swappable lens to try out some different focusing techniques. Now, what I did with this camera is I used focus peaking and manual focus to get the 120 frames per second focused in because I found that the autofocus isn't really reliable with the automatic focus in 120 frames per second. So if I was you and you were planning to do the 120 frames per second, I would recommend using the focus peaking on, which pretty much, if you don't know what focus peaking is, it shows a red outline on the image or subject that is in focus or that you are planning to in focus, and it'll give you a digital idea on the LCD as well as the viewfinder of what is in focus. Another way that you can do it is you can leave it in autofocus, except whenever you're trying to set your video, before you hit record button, make sure you tap the shutter button, just one little tap, and select the subject that you want to focus on before hitting record, and it will automatically focus into that person. So this right here is the lens. This is exactly what it looks like. This is the Canon EOS STM 1.8 50mm lens. As you can see, it's got a pretty large aperture. There's a lot of light to be allowed in through there. It does not have adjustable aperture. It does have manual focus. This thing is mainly for photography, so you don't really have the capability of video like other manual lenses. But I think this thing right here is very versatile for video as well as photography. And I was actually really surprised at how well this thing did. The good thing about it is that 120 frames per second sometimes requires a higher shutter speed, so you're not able to get as much light in as you can. But this thing being at 1.8 aperture lets in a lot more light, so you don't have to worry about your videos becoming grainy, and it just gives it an overall smoother look. And yeah, so without further ado, let's go ahead and see some of the video that I shot. I did shoot some outdoor as well as indoor, and like I said, it was pretty amazing. I'm really surprised and ecstatic with this camera at how well the B-roll 120 frames per second turned out. Here we go. Well guys, that was the B-roll that I wanted to show you guys, and that was basically my chance to try out for the first time a 120 frames per second camera with a swappable lens other than my iPhone. So I think it turned out really good. I'm really happy with the way that Canon created this 120 frames per second in 720p. I wish it was 1080p, but what can I do? At this price point, at $799 for this body, I can't really complain, because in this price range I haven't seen many other cameras to be able to do such a thing. Sony does have it, but I haven't really seen it used as much as I'd like to. So maybe down the road I can test this camera versus that camera. Well guys, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, you guys are awesome. Thank you for subscribing and continually commenting and liking on the videos. If you have any questions, if you have any suggestions for further videos, feel free to leave it in the comments below. Alright guys, I'll see you guys next time. Take care.